We've had a huge response to this launch event today. We've had, I think, over 200 people have signed up, which is fantastic. This is certainly an area where there's a lot of interest and there's a huge need, a huge opportunity. So, yeah, thank you all for coming today. And before I start, a huge thank you to everyone that's got us to this point. So it's been a fantastic development group, Gemma and the staff team. So yeah, I just really want to thank everyone who's been involved in getting us to this point. It's been fantastic. We've got something really, really important to contribute to the world. So today we're going to hear from Graham and Paula, part of the team that has developed this work. And we're also going to hear from Lavinia from Glasgow University about why they're so excited in getting involved in this work. And we're going to hear from you as well. You can contribute in the form of questions that you can put into the chat. And at the end, we've got around 10 minutes to answer any of the questions that have come up. And for anything that we can't answer immediately, we will try and respond to those in a follow-up email later for this week. I'd really encourage you all to put your name, where you're calling from. If you're a part of a school or connected with a particular school or education group, please add that too. So yeah, it would be really great to see who's on the call with us today and for you to share some of your details in the chat. We are here for our members. The Permaculture Association is a member-led charity. We've been going since 1983 and we've achieved a lot together. And the reason we achieve a lot is because we work very collaboratively with members. And this is a really great example of that. This has been an opportunity to get people that are passionate around working in schools to work together. And what's very exciting is that this course really could help us to connect with and work with schools all across England and beyond. So it's a very strategic piece of work. It helps get permaculture education into where everyone's at in mainstream education. So yeah, very excited. Thanks. I can see people starting to add their stuff into the chat. That's appreciated. I don't think I've got anything else I need to say right now. So I'm going to pass on to Graham, who's going to answer the question, why this course and why now?
Yes, why? A very important question. It's part of a government expectation that all schools should have a sustainability lead and a climate action plan by 2025. And that's what was driving us with this. It's part of the government's 25-year environment plan and net zero strategy. And the expectations of it came out of COP26 in 2021 in Glasgow. And there was a document, the government produced a document from that called Sustainability and Climate Change, a strategy for the education and children's services systems. And Nadine Zahawi, who was the education minister at the time and also leading on COP26, made some 4 important statements around supporting young people with this. The first one was that they need to meet the challenges of climate change with determination and not with despair. We must offer them hope and truth through a knowledge-rich education. They need to be agents of change, which I think is really, really key, and that they should be aware of the green career pathway for their chosen field. So it's being driven, what we're doing is being driven by that to a degree. Another thing that I think is worth thinking about is Oxford University Press's Children's Word of the Year in 2023 was climate change. And that, I think, if nothing else, should make us as adults think that how climate change is addressed should be an important aspect of learning in schools. There's also support from teachers for a greater focus on sustainability and what they do. Rebooting Education 2023, a report from Cambridge University Press, I think, surveyed 7,000 teachers. And one of the outcomes of that was that teachers have a vision for the future of education, and it includes centering values, well-being and sustainability at its heart. And there's also, on top of that, the government's aim to be a world leader in sustainable education by 2030. This was all under the previous government. It remains the intention of the current one. But nevertheless, looking at what children and teachers are saying, schools should have a sustainability focus, I believe, irrespective of the government's expectation. So, in summary, there's not only expectation from above, but support from below for sustainability to have a greater emphasis within schools. I'm a teacher, been a teacher for a very long time, and looking at this through the lens of the classroom teacher, to be a successful sustainable school, sustainability needs to be well thought out, an integral part of the school's development planning, and supported by the management. I've got this sort of view of it of being a green thread through everyday school life and development. But, and the but is that although teachers see the need, they don't necessarily have the knowledge and may not have sufficient time or influence. So what we've created, and what we're offering, is a supportive pathway that is much more than just ticking the box of a sustainability lead and a climate action plan in a school. The programme we've created will support them through the process, importantly, support their thinking with a permaculture slant, as well as the people care also of looking after their zone 00. And this is a very different approach to other programs out there that seem to focus only on actions and resources. So I'm going to hand over to Paula to talk about the course itself.
Thank you, Graham. Hello, everybody. So at the heart of the course are these 5 action areas that were introduced by the Department for Education in England as part of their green strategy. We have decided, that's not me, by the way, that noise. We have decided to focus our work on that. And then I'll go into how we've added to that later on. So these 5 areas, sorry, is there, yeah. These 5 areas, they underpin the DfE strategy, like I said, and they provide a framework for schools to be able to make it that green thread. As a teacher, but also as a head teacher in my time, you know that as integrated as possible is easier. And then you link it to the budget, which makes things possible. So this will cover the curriculum, also campus, operations, leadership, community engagement, all of those things. And the permaculture sort of principle of scale obviously applies, depending on how big and small your school is. One of the biggest challenges schools face is knowing where to start. I mean, to be honest, we had that as well. And so although we know, like Graham said, that they were keen to make change, finding the time to kind of make sense of all the knowledge and resources out there is a Herculean task, and it can feel overwhelming. And that can mean that things are either not done very well, or not done at all. And so we decided to split those 5 areas into the 3 different aspects, which I'm sure you're familiar with: the head, the heart, and the hands. So the head encompasses, okay, what do you need to know if you're going to start to think about green skills and careers in your school, for example, just taking that area. It gives you the knowledge and the research that you as the teacher or you as the school need to know to be able to be informed about that area. The heart then helps you as a sustainability lead in a school sort of embed the values and the ethos of sustainability throughout your own values and ethos, engaging your staff and your students and your parents, depending on the scale. And then the hands section is a list of activities and links, but importantly, it's a curated list that we've painstakingly gone through from all the free resources that are out there. The thing that makes us special, that makes this course unique, is that the head and the heart really emphasize how we all feel about the fact that sustainability isn't just about technical solutions or buying a composting bin or whatever. It's about, creating that mindset of responsibility and also possibility and optimism and as agents of change. So when a person enrolls, teachers will gain access to the course and all of the resources, which we will continue to evolve, ongoing updates. There's a forum. We're hoping that teachers can work together and support each other, but we're also there to support them. the main thing I'd like to say is that we really understand what it's like in a school. We really understand the pressures that people are under. And we want to make this possible and also make people's lives easier. There are various ways of cutting this information. The government also cuts it into 4 pillars: biodiversity, climate resilience, resource efficiency, and social sustainability. So we've tried to sort of pick through all of that and make a clear way through. I'll just show you, for example, on the next slide, this is the area of climate education. You get the introduction. What is climate education? Why do we need to think about it? Then what do I need to know? How can I engage my school community? And then ideas and links and activities for optimizing, learning in your school. As I'm sure you're aware, finally, that the principles and the approach is universal. And although we've responded to the DFE in England's, strategy, there's no reason why this can't go on further than that and beyond. And that's really exciting for us. So I'm just going to hand back to Graham now, who's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, and we're aware that a number of you emailed and asked about initiatives in other sectors in mainstream education, and also in other countries. I think if we think back to young people having the confidence to be agents of change, that to me is really key and really important. The approach of being a sustainable school is of key importance, whether it's expected by government or not. So if we're looking at that, young people being agents of change, that's what drives why we should be doing it. I think to emphasize that within the communications pack, which Paula will talk about shortly, there's a list of why having a sustainability lead and a climate action plan will actually benefit the school. And again, as a teacher, the important ones to me, it impacts pupil learning and progress. It impacts on pupil mental health. It impacts on pupil confidence and voice, impacts on pupil preparation for adulthood. The word pupil is in front of all of those. Pupils are key. It also has an impact on staff confidence and school culture. So those things, irrespective of anybody's expectation, would improve how a school operates. I recently spoke with a sustainability lead from Avonbourne Boys Academy, who talked to me about their Ofsted report, which had a statement in the first paragraph that pupils develop very strong leadership skills. And that related directly to the sustainability work with pupils that the pupils in that school are engaged with. So again, Ofsted or otherwise, that's a great outcome for those people as agents of change. So if our course can create those sorts of outcomes, then it's as applicable outside the borders of England as within. And I think you'd all agree that the value of approaching sustainability through the lenses of earth care, people care, and fair shares is extremely valid. In Scotland, Learning for Sustainability has been in place for a number of years, and we're joined by staff members from Glasgow University who have funded a 3-year project to get permaculture into every primary school in Scotland in relation to their sustainability leadership requirements. And Lavinia is going to talk to us a bit about that project. Thank you, Lavinia.
Thank you for the invitation, and it's an honor to be in such great company. I am based in the School of Education at the University of Glasgow, and we are at the point of launching in May a 3-year project that is entitled Sustainable Designs for Living and Learning, Embedding Multilingualism into Learning for Sustainability. This 3-year project is a partnership between 2 university institutions, University of Glasgow on the one hand and University of Strathclyde, and more specifically, Scotland's National Centre for Languages, and 2 of my colleagues, Jane Catlin and Karen Folds, are with us on the call. So please wave and turn on your video because we are, as oftentimes it happens, these projects are team projects, and behind them there is a whole group of people who are working really hard to make things happen on the ground. This partnership also brings in collaboration with the Permaculture Association to provide our teachers and the team as well with the necessary knowledge in permaculture design. We also will be engaging with artists and with Creative Glasgow and other important contributing organizations such as Bilingualism Matters and ScotTech. As you have mentioned, Graham, in Scotland, indeed, there have been sustained efforts in building the capacity within the schools to tackle these issues around sustainability, learning for sustainability, climate change, and preparing our young people to take meaningful action. And as some of you also pointed out earlier, there is great energy around this area, but there's also a need for support and for resources and for supporting our teachers to create that balance between the pressures of their workload and what happens in the schools, and bringing in the principles of learning for sustainability. For us, for this particular project, we wanted to look at the relationship between learning for sustainability and multilingualism. And this is because we have conducted a lot of pilot work around the importance of languages in our schools. And just to give you an insight, the most recent statistics from the Pupil Census Survey in 2024 indicate that at the moment our pupils use 198 languages in Scotland at the moment. So that's a huge number of languages, and that means a huge number of ways of looking at the world, understanding the world, and even understanding, learning for sustainability. You can start thinking about what it means when you put the languages in the mix. So we are taking a whole school approach. In year one, we will be working with 3 schools, 3 primary schools, where the entire research team, together with the members of staff in those schools, we are going to go through the training in permaculture design and the principles of permaculture. And we are going to implement, develop, and use arts-based methods to transform and to reflect and see what happens with our schools when we put all these great ideas together. In year 2, we are trying to reach out, so we will have grants and partnerships with 10 more schools, expanding the work that we are doing and the learning that we have built in year 1. And we are also continuing our longitudinal work, because that's also an important aspect. We need more evidence and more research around how does this look over an extended period of time. As you have said, in many schools that have been short-term projects or there have been all sorts of initiatives, but these are within a determined period of time. And then the question is now, what are we doing next? So with our work, we are trying to provide, to have a longitudinal look at what learning for sustainability means. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but this is an important aspect because this work is possible with AHRC funding. So this project is funded by the Arts and Humanities Research Council. And we are open to collaborations. Again, this is a learning and implementation project for all of us, and we are looking to grow and share our expertise with colleagues in the area.
Thank you so much, Lavinia. Very exciting. And I think I'd just like to say to everybody, when you're thinking about taking this course on, subscribing yourself, or encouraging teachers that you know to subscribe, is that this course isn't necessarily a prescription. It's supposed to be a curated, suggested flow through this overwhelming amount of information that's out there about how to be sustainable. I mean, years and years ago, I was working in schools doing the Eco Schools program, WWF. I've taken gardens to flower shows. I've done all sorts of things. And it's often it relies on that one very, very dedicated teacher. And what we want to do is try and help that teacher build a team within the school to be able to then, make sure the project lasts beyond their time at that school. So linking it with arts is a wonderful thing, I think. So there are two main ways in which you can help us, and we'd love you to. Is one, there are marketing materials available which we will share with you, which you can share on social media if you're on social media, or if you're in relevant groups, WhatsApp groups, things like that, or school groups, PTA, anything that you're with. Maybe you're a school governor. There are all sorts of people that out there who can help us have leverage for this course. And then there's also a letter and some resources around how you can directly contact a specific school or group of schools. But I am definitely not going to rain on Graham's parade and talk about that now, because he's very excited. But I'll talk briefly about the comms kit. So in the chat, there will be a link, and you will get it after this event as well, a comms kit. And in there is... there are some suggested groups of text, blocks of text and pictures that you can use to put directly onto your social media, now after this meeting, to be able to publicize it. We've suggested the tags that you might want to use, and obviously tag the Permaculture Association in. Let me just go back to what else I'm doing. You may also want to tag in schools that you've been working with to sort of let them know that that's that's something that you would like them to do. By sharing the course, you're not just promoting the program, although we'll talk about the price in a minute. We've kept it as low as we possibly can to make it as accessible as possible. But you are helping schools by making those real practical steps and knowing where to start, and you're kind of creating and becoming and enlarging the movement that is already there to sort of make change in schools for sustainability. So don't feel alone. That's what we mean. And you will have pictures and text within there. Graham, do you want to talk about your exciting stuff for schools?
Yes, I do. I think it's fantastic that people want to help us share this with as many schools as we can get it out to. And we do feel that personal direct contact from someone local or known to a school really is the best way forward for making that contact. So we've set up a system whereby you can choose which school or schools you'd like to contact using the communication kit that Paul has just talked about. So step one is filling in a form online, which asks questions around the number of schools you want to contact. If you just want to contact your child's school or the school that's just down the road to you, that's brilliant. That's the one you're going to have the closest contact. If you want to contact a wider range of schools, that's as good. That would be great as well. So it talks about the number of schools you want to contact, the regions that they're in, so that we can see how we're making contacts across the country, and then also if you're sharing your information through social media. There are links on the form to the communications kit and the map and the spreadsheets of all the schools in England. What we have is a magic map. I'm really excited by this. It links my two favorite things of spreadsheets and maps. But there is a map which there's a link in the form, and you can go onto that map, and by clicking on one of the little blue pods, little blue tags, it'll give you all the information about the school. So you can find those schools that are local to you that you might want to make contact with. Just a little proviso is the information is from 2023, so there may be some changes. For example, the head teacher may well have changed, but I would expect the office email that's there and the websites to be correct. And obviously there's the website there, and you can go and check if you want to. So using that, you can identify the schools, and beneath each school there, each map, sorry, there's a spreadsheet of all of the schools in those regions. Okay, each map has got 3 spreadsheets. There's 25,000 schools in the country, so we've been trying to make it manageable. And your school will be in there. You can just scroll down alphabetically, find the schools, and just sign up, put your name next to the school that you want to contact. So that's the second step. So the first step is the form. Second step is the map and the spreadsheets. The third step is contacting the school. Yeah, making that contact, personalizing the information, and talking to, if you know the right person to talk to in the school, going and talking to them. And then if we go to the next slide, Paula, please. The fourth step is just letting us know how you get on. And if you get stuck with this, you can just email me and I'll help you talk you through it. Okay, so
Can I just add to that? If there are any other questions, there's also, you might want to know this, there's a template email in the comms pack that we've drafted that you might want to just cut and paste, or you might want to tweak and personalize, but it just prevents that blank page thing for you. So I hope that's helpful. And so if you have any problems, or if you're nervous about contacting schools, but I don't think you will be because you're permaculturalists, then just message the general email and we can always be there to help you and hold your hand or whatever.
Thank you. And it's back to Andy, I think.
I think it is. Okay, well, I think it's actually back to the 3 of us. So, yeah, we're going to take some questions now. So we have 4 questions that have been identified so far. There may be space for another 1 or 2. So if you have a question, please put it into the chat now, and it will magically appear in front of me and I can ask it. So let's start off with what we've got. So the first question was, are there action areas with drop downs on a web page? So yeah, how do the action areas work on the Designing Sustainable Schools course?
Shall I answer that?
Yes, please. Thanks.
If I just the slide I showed you, which had the little boxes which said head, heart, and hand. So there are 5 areas that have that for the 5 areas of the strategy, and then within that there is a section for what the teacher needs to know, ideas for how they can engage their wider community, and then resources and links and activities that they can download from there. Does that answer that bit? Surrounding all of that information, though, is guidance for the teachers about how to audit what they're doing already, and then how to, as they're going through the 5 areas, reflecting on what they're doing already and what they may want to do. Now, that work may take a month, it might take a year. And, ideally it would take longer, because it's about that reflective sort of praxis of, thinking about what we're doing already, reflecting on it, tweaking it, and then introducing it. So that's the process. There is a reflective sort of workbook and journal that the teacher can download to go with that they can write on, update, share with. There are evaluation tools in there as well. And there are also a couple of templates of climate action plans. We've created one alongside those 5 areas, knowing full well that schools have their own planning processes and that they may want to do their own thing or tweak ours or download one from somewhere else. So it's wrapped around. Just finally, in addition, there are other sections as well which have the links. So we've put all the links into one section so that if you just want to go back to the links in one section, then you can. There's further reading in those links sections as well. If you're particularly interested in reading about Nature Connection, there's all this research about Nature Connection. And then we've also started building a resource of case studies, which we will obviously continue to add to. And if there are any case studies out there that you think we should include, send them along to the schools at Permaculture. Does that answer the question?
I think that's great. And maybe it's worth saying here that it's not a web page, it's a course. You know, it's something you go onto our online learning platform and, you know, it's structured with modules and you can work through it. And I've been through most of it. I wouldn't say I've gone through everything, but one thing I can absolutely assure people is it's brilliantly put together. This is based on people that work in and with schools and have done for many years. So this has got really deep experience of the school. It's also got really deep experience of permaculture. And goodness me, if you just spent £52 to basically get access to all the research that's been done, that brings together all these resources, it would be money very, very well spent. Honestly, I think this is without doubt the best course we've ever put together. It's fantastic. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Go to the next question. So the next question was, when do sustainability leads need to be in place in England?
Shall I take that one up, Andy? The expectation is by the end of this year. The difference with that, I think, would say that it is an expectation, and different schools will have different priorities.
Yeah.
The head teachers I've spoken to in Cumbria are all very keen, but it's where it fits in their priorities. So this is something that I would expect schools to be picking up, not just this year, but into next year, depending on where they're up to with things. Schools with an Ofsted coming up, it's not part of Ofsted. That's going to be their top priority, and this will be a little bit further down the list.
Yeah. And I think it's worth pointing out here a couple of things. I mean, certainly one thing is that we know that we've been working with a group called Schools for the Future, it's called Teach for Future, and it's youth-led group, and it's been championing the need of climate change in the curricula. And, you know, it looks like the recent review of the school curriculum is going to highlight climate and sustainability more highly than it has so far.
Yes.
So this is certainly a direction of travel. And I think the point you made brilliantly earlier, Graham, was that whether this is a regulation or not, it's something happening in the world. And we know that a lot of young people are hugely concerned about climate. So for a school to engage its pupils well, this really does need to be a priority.
Yeah, and the quote I had from the school at Avonbourne from their Ofsted report was to do with pupil voice. And if this is a vehicle for pupil voice, it is something that everybody should be doing.
Absolutely. Is this another question we've had? Is this both for primary and secondary schools? What does that?
It's nursery, preschool, primary, secondary, post-16, college. It's across the board. It would be pupil referral units, specialist provision, special schools, everybody.
And would you say that this course, Designing Sustainable Schools, would help in each of those contexts?
We've written it with that range of spread in mind. So, yeah, Paula.
May I just add to that? So, for everybody and anybody who's ever worked or been in a school, every school is different, obviously, and every setting is different. And the school that's half a mile that way from me and half a mile that way, they operate differently. So what we've tried to do is create something that the person who has been identified either by themselves or by the leadership as the sustainability lead can pick this up and intelligently, because teachers are able to do this, just work through it in a way that is right for their setting. So if they have a large outdoor space, in the estate section, there is a guidance that takes you all the way through the SADMET process of how to permaculturalize your outside space. There's also information that Georgina Kate has put in about, if you've got a small yard or raised beds, for example. There's also some stuff that the sustainability leader will need to work with the office on. So we've included stuff around the circular economy and input analysis in terms of what are we bringing into this school, where's it coming from, what are we doing with it, and what happens when we've finished with it, so that skips outside schools full of desks are hopefully thought through. So we've really tried to cover, but it is going to need the person to, to feel confident to adapt it for their setting.
Yeah.
One last thing, they don't have to do everything.
No,
so,
that's right.
for example, redesigning the outside space, and they've only got a small yard, isn't the priority, but making sure that they are using more sustainable products in their supply chains is, then we want to encourage them to focus on that.
Yeah.
And
great.
The strength, Andy, of the course is that it's starting with thinking. It's starting with that heads bit, which a lot of the other things out there aren't doing.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get the sustainability leads, the schools, the teachers to be thinking about how they do things rather than just what they do.
Definitely. This is not just a tick box exercise. Here are things to do. It's really help you think it through. And I think to go back to your love of spreadsheets and maps, the idea that this is relatable to pretty much every education initiative means that for any members here that want to help promote it, go to that map, and all the schools in their area are potentially, can make a connection with this course. Could be of value to them. Okay, we've got two more quick questions, then we're going to do some wrap up. So one question is, are there any options for consultancy or extra support from the people that made this course? So Graham, Paula, Georgina, others, would you like any consultancy to follow this up with?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, whether it's just a quick conversation or whether you want us to come to a school with you, absolutely. There's all sorts of options, yeah.
I think maybe this is also a good opportunity to say that, again, so this is being hosted on our community hub. There's the modules that you work through, but there's also a forum.
Yeah.
And there's a real potential here for us to start to identify who in the permaculture network and who's in the schools network is working on this, connect up, support each other. And there'll be lots of opportunities, I'm sure, for us to find ways to do that. So, yeah, I'm sure consultancy, mutual aid, but the community hub forum space means that there's an opportunity for us to stay in touch.
I mean, we don't want to do everything. So we want to empower and support people to go into their local school. But if you're thinking, crikey, who do I speak to and where do I start? We can help with that. Very, very.
I think it's certainly a case of there being enough work for everyone. So, yeah, that's great. Okay, so final question. Cedric in Belgium asks, do you already have activities in our country and or are there resources that you would suggest for us to look at? So I guess, how do we stand in terms of supporting people in other countries? Would you say just do the course and take what you can from it?
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, we've really fought to keep the price as low as we can.
Yeah.
We are aware that there's a lot of free information out there, but it's not curated in the way that this is. So I would recommend, I wanted it to be at a price, we all did, at a price that even if a teacher wasn't, would just be able to kind of do it. So I would recommend, first step, sign up, take what you can for it, and then engage with us on the forum and see, we might be able to create a Belgian one. You never know.
Yeah, and we've done this on a really tiny budget. We don't have like any big funds for like an education coordinator for schools or anything like that. So, really, if you've got questions, start off, have a look at the course, go through it, get on that forum, talk to each other, and we can pick it up from there. But we don't have any sort of dedicated person that's paid just to kind of answer these questions. So if you're a funder and you'd like to help take this further forward, please do contact me after the break. So, great. Okay. Well, I think they're all the kind of key questions. I'm going to just finish us off really. So, as it says on the slide, first of all, to say thank you, and I'd like to thank Paula, Lavinia, Graham for their presentations today, their contributions. I'd like to thank Gemma, who's done an awful lot to prepare this Zoom call and a lot of the other work. and the whole team at Permaculture Association, the whole team that's helped make the Sustainable Schools work come alive. Georgina, Chick, there's quite a few people, so I'm not going to go that route because I'll forget someone. But just a very, very big thank you to everyone that's been involved in this. It's great. I would end by just saying that this is a pivotal moment for the Permaculture Association and for our network. As Graham said, empowering schools and young people to be agents for change for sustainability is more vital than ever. It's something we have to do regardless or not of whether it's something that's mandated by government. There's a really huge opportunity to connect and work with schools across this country, and we need your help. As Paula said, don't feel alone. We hope this resource can connect up and make the work that we're already doing more visible, and to give an enormous boost to the work that's already happening in terms of permaculture in schools, to sustainability in schools, and to taking that further forward. So please do help us to make this work. Sign up, join others on the community school, Sustainable Schools course, share the links. There's a fantastic comms pack, whether it's on a WhatsApp, social media, or by email, or if you want to go in and actually talk to your local school, there's something there that can really help you. It's an amazing map. We can use that to mobilize, and simply, it's just a brilliant set of resources, and I can't stress enough how good it is. Maybe one thing we didn't do today is go through the content as much as we could have done. There's a lot there. It's very clear. It's very flexible, and as it says on the slide, it will give you a whole school approach, all for £52. So let's get behind this and really support this, whether it's you're already joining the call from a school, whether you're a member, whatever your role, there's something here you can do to contribute towards this work. So I think that's it. I think that's just me to say a closing thanks. Thank you very much to the tech team that made this work today. Thanks to you for coming, all of our attendees. We'll be following up with an email with links and resources. And more than anything else, we really hope to see you on the Designing Sustainable Schools course sometime soon. And I guess the call to action really is sign up today. If there's a load of us can start at the beginning, then there'll be a great cohort on that forum, and we can ask each other questions, and we can really get some momentum behind this. So yeah, thank you very much for coming.